Okay, legislative day number 3 will now come to order. Please pause for a moment of silent meditation. I'll now call upon Councilman Marks, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag, States of America, to the republic for which it stands, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. So. Is there a motion to approve the journal for the meeting of January the 17th? So moved. Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The journal is approved. Enrollment of bills. Bills 86-22, 87-22, and 88-22 were passed by the council and signed by the executive and hereby enrolled. Mr. Secretary, will you now read all bills for introduction this evening?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The first bill for introduction only this evening is Bill 8-23, Executive Compensation Plan for Employees in the Exempt Service. Next is Bill 9-23, sponsored by Council Members Patoka and Catch, Zoning Regulations, Uses Permitted in the Manufacturing Light Zone, Veterinarian's Office in a Planned Industrial Park.
Okay. We'll now consider all miscellaneous business. Mr. Secretary, first item, please.
Mr. Chairman, whenever a contract over $25,000 is awarded by a process other than formal competitive bid, it is required that the Secretary read the notice of that award and including the parties and the amount at the next legislative session. I will do so at this time. The first item is a purchase order with Noritsu American Corporation in the amount of $49,250. Next is a purchase order with Churches for Streets of Hope Incorporated in the amount of $168,540. Next is a purchase order with Franklin Miller Incorporated, award total of $72,474. Next is an agreement with Hines and Walter Incorporated in the amount of $600,000, an estimated 5-year total of $600,000. Next is with Accelerated Technology Laboratories Incorporated, also estimated total of 5 years in the amount of $36,674.50. And that is all for tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is the council's consideration of the nomination by the county executive of Mr. Dennis J. Delp to be the next acting chief of the Baltimore County Police.
Yes. Colonel Delp, Chief Delp, just for those that are watching, what we're going to do, we're going to briefly go through the nominations and confirmations for the personnel in the executive staff. And then we will get into, I guess, the bag ban bill. So, Chief Delp.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. I present before you today to seek council approval for extension past the 60-day term as interim police chief for Baltimore County. I have been serving in the role of interim police chief since December 6, 2022. I have 33 years experience in the police profession. Over 28 of those years have been with the Baltimore County Police Department. I hold a master's degree and bachelor's degree in organizational leadership and management from Johns Hopkins University, 2016 and 2018. I'm a graduate of the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. Was a member of the 224 session in 2006. I have 13 years experience in executive management level leadership in the Baltimore County Police Department, serving at the rank of captain through the rank of interim police chief. I am the recipient of 5 Chiefs Awards, 3 Critical Incident Awards, and a Police Officer of the Year Award. I've been part of numerous efforts and committees involving the legislative changes that have occurred in policing, communicated with agency leadership on important uses of force policy changes, led efforts with respect to providing training to legislators on police tactics and area-based training to assist with understanding. I've overseen the leadership of the recruitment efforts for the agency since 2018. Other notable assignments I have been in charge of recently have been the employment section, our technology section, our wellness section, internal affairs section, and our planning section. All of these responsibilities have involved significant changes to the agency and profession. I also led the training section from 2016 to 2018, at which time we began training the agency in ICAT training, integrating communications assessment and tactics, which includes the critical decision-making model. This model serves as a basis for proper decision-making and proportionality. Vision for the department moving forward: fill vacancies by recruitment and hiring, reducing resignations, continue with increasing minority representation in the agency and ranks, improve morale through training, support, and wellness initiatives, improve understanding between police and the community, meet new law and MPTC requirements, and ultimately assist the new chief appointee with a leadership transition. I would like to thank you for your time and consideration in this matter.
Thank you very much, Chief. We've had extensive conversation and testimony during the work session, but let me just take this opportunity to thank you so much for your 28 years of service, and we certainly appreciate that very much. Any additional questions or comments? We go to a vote? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the appointment?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the, wait. Do you have any family members with?
No.
Okay, please call the roll on the, it's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll on the appointment.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye. The ayes have it. Appointment is confirmed. Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Chief. Mr. Secretary, next person, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is the council's consideration for confirmation of the county executive's nomination of Ms. DeAndrea Walker to be the Director of the Department of Public Works and Transportation.
Ms. Walker? Good afternoon, Ms. Walker.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the council.
So I see you have your family. Last week you had your work family. Now I see they have grown some. You added some additions to the work family. I take it this is your home family.
That is my home family and my family from Prince George's County as well.
Okay, so if you don't mind, go through some quick introductions really fast because we want them all to feel welcome. We certainly appreciate them coming here.
All right, my husband is here with me tonight, Jared. My mother-in-law is here, Gloria Walker Baylor. My sons are here with me today, Christopher and Jordan, and my niece daughter, DeAndrea, and my daughter-in-law, Amanda. My family from Prince George's County is here. I have several members of my previous staff from Prince George's County. Samaya, Regina, Geraldine. Oh my goodness, yeah. And then I also have my DPW&T family here with me again tonight. Laura, Tashawn, and Lauren, who takes care of me every day. And Tony, my other deputy, is here as well. And then Amelia and is also here. Did I get everybody? Did I get everybody? Okay. Marshall is here. Okay. Marshall is here. I cannot forget Marshall.
All right. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate you all coming, and we welcome you to our humble abode here. And thanks for coming out supporting Ms. Walker. So Ms. Walker, take it away.
So I actually come to you today to ask you for your favorable vote for Director of DPW&T. This has been a long journey for me. I've been acting in this position for 2 years. I am honored to have the opportunity to be in this seat. I've worked in public service for over 2 decades of my life, from Capitol Hill to state government to other local jurisdictions as well. I have 2 degrees from Morgan State University, the great Morgan State University, that I'm very proud of. I believe that there's 3 pillars that I will focus on as Director of DPW&T. And one most important pillar is making sure that I'm taking care of the infrastructure here in Baltimore County, as well as being as responsive as possible to the residents of Baltimore County, while also taking care of the budget and making sure that I'm meeting projects on time and within budget. So I'm excited about the opportunity to, as I would be remiss if I didn't say, be the first African-American female to be in this position. I could not have the opportunity to come before you all today without thanking the county executive, thanking Madam AO for all of her support throughout this process, and thanking you all for being willing to have a charter change for me to have the opportunity to be in this seat. So I thank you all as council members as well for the opportunity. I know my mom is watching, and I know my aunt is watching, and my sisters and brothers are watching, so I also want to thank them as well. This is a humbling experience for me, being a young girl from Houston in the projects. A lot of people don't get this far. So I'm humbled by the fact that you all would even consider me for this position. So I ask you for your favorable vote today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. We see that you have an extensive background, and we're just happy that you landed here with us. And I can say that over the last couple of years, you've done nothing but outstanding work. And I think, speaking for all the council, I think what we probably like most is that you have a culture of trying to get to yes, and most of the time the answer is yes. So whenever people have issues and concerns, your first answer is not, no, we can't do that or don't do that. And I think everybody really appreciates that. I know I'm speaking for myself and all the rest of us here that, you know, that's one of the things you do, and we're very happy to have you. And we're certainly very happy to see your family here. So I will go ahead and make the motion that we approve. Any more questions or comments from any of the members?
Second.
Okay, I'll make the motion. It's been seconded, and now we'll have discussion. Any questions or comments? Anybody want to say anything? Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I just want to give you an example of the great work that Ms. Walker does. Just last week, it's just a small example. Last week, the county executive held his town hall meeting, and Mr. Talley from the Woodmore Community Association said, I want a speed camera. What happened to the speed camera on Essex Road? And the last I saw of Ms. Walker, her and Mr. Talley were walking out of the building. And this morning, when you and I, Mr. Chair, were at the senior center in Woodlawn, Mr. Talley said, the speed camera is back. And so I drove by, and sure enough, it was there, and I drove at the posted speed just to make sure.
Why didn't you test it out? Make sure it was working.
But it's a really small example of these little things that make people have confidence in Baltimore County government. And so thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Councilman Patoka. Anyone else? Councilman Marks?
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. You and I both have had some experience in transportation at multiple levels of government. I want to thank you for advancing an intermodal transportation portfolio. Traditionally, the county focused on roads, and we're doing a lot of resurfacing, which is good. But we're also now focusing on sidewalks, bicycle, pedestrian connections, and also transit where appropriate. So I want to thank you for pushing that sort of agenda and look forward to your continued partnership with the council.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Any additional questions, comments? I'll just tell one quick story about her being a constant professional. The other day, we had the honor and privilege of having the governor here. And on his bus ride, Ms. Walker spent the whole time talking about priorities for Baltimore County.
That's
She
right.
had his ear, she had him cornered, and she didn't waste time to talk about what we need here in Baltimore County. So I think it makes a difference. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Ms. Walker, thank you, and aye.
and Mr. Young.
Aye.
Guys have it. Congratulations, Ms. Walker.
Thank you.
Mr. Secretary. Next person, please. We'll wait for her family to catch her and thank her. Next person, Mr. Secretary.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is the council's consideration for confirmation of the county executive's nomination of Mr. Kevin D. Reed to be the Director of the Office of Budget and Finance.
Okay, Director Reed.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and council members. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come before you tonight. And if I may, say a few words and then introduce some important folks out in the audience, if that's okay.
Please.
Thank you, sir. Last week, we discussed my background and qualifications for this, for me to be confirmed as Director of Budget and Finance. And at the time, I said there is no greater honor and privilege than to serve the community in which you live. And I am excited to do so in this new capacity if approved. The 20 years that I've been with Baltimore County has been a great ride, and I've gained valuable budgetary and operational experience in many facets of county government, from working with you in the legislative branch to working out in the client-serving department, and of course, being in the Office of Budget and Finance from an entry-level analyst to where I am today. And I think this path that I've taken to be sitting before you now is a testament to the fact that this organization is a great place to work, one where a person can grow and have opportunities, both professionally and personally. And not many in my generation stay with an employer for 20 years. And this shows that if you want to work hard and want to excel and advance, we have a place for you here at Baltimore County. And I credit the council for your partnership in fostering this environment. I'd like to thank the county executive for putting his faith in me and for this appointment. And I'd like to recognize that I would not be here without the support of our administrative officer, Stacey Rogers. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I look forward to a positive vote. And if I may, Mr. Chair, introduce a few folks out in the audience that are important.
I will insist upon it.
All right, sir. First and foremost, we have mom and dad here all the way from Timonium, Maryland.
Oh,
There we
yeah.
go. And I'll just say this about mom. When we were little, mom used to take us on mandatory field trips, and we would see fun things around town like the water and wastewater treatment facilities. We saw the recycling center. We saw the Baltimore Sun Press. And we had the infamous bike safety night held at my house, put on by the Baltimore County Police Department when I was in middle school, which was met with rave reviews by the parents, not so much by my peers. But these early interactions sparked an interest in me for public service. And Mom, I think we can say that your field trips paid off well. So thank you for that.
All right.
Mom ahead. My wife, Christine, is here. Chrissy, wave.
All right, Chris.
Perhaps as a younger man, I may have, thought of what would life be not working for Baltimore County and outside of that. And Chrissy always reminded me how, I enjoyed the work and I enjoyed the people and how this job was really a part of me and how she thought that I could go far here. And, Chrissy, you've always been my rock and my number one supporter and believer in me, even at times when I couldn't be. So I am so thankful that you're here on this ride with me, and I love you very much.
Oh.
Brendan and Grant Reed, stand up, wave to the councilman. Look at those cuties back there. My sons, Grant's missing basketball tonight, but Mr. Chair, we'll have a good day at the game the other day. And we joke the budget guys have no friends. I have two. They're here with me tonight. Just to Jason Debeck and Steve Cromwell. Thanks for being here tonight with me, guys. And finally, at the end, my awesome deputy director. Awesome is not a great word to describe him, but Matt's been around for a long time. You'll be seeing more Mr. Carpenter, Matt Carpenter, our deputy of OBF. Thanks for being here tonight, Matt.
Good.
I appreciate it. And thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the time.
Well, no, we certainly appreciate you and certainly appreciate your service here to Baltimore County. You have been a constant professional. You've been very thorough and knowledgeable about the budget. And I guess I really appreciate you being available to the times that I had to reach out to you off hours, but you've always been there. So we certainly appreciate it very much. Any additional questions or comments? Yes. Councilman.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Mr. Reed, I don't know if you recall, but during the work session, I stepped away from the dais as you were speaking.
Out of protest.
I hope you didn't take that personally.
No, sir.
It had more to do with me than you, believe me.
Okay.
So I just wanted to say that in our relationship, in my eight plus years on the council, that I don't know if we've had a conversation. We've had a lot of casual conversations in different places, right? And I seem to always learn something from you. So I think that stepping into this new role is, I think we're in good shape with you in this role. And I know that your predecessor sent me a message endorsing you very strongly. And you know how much we think of your predecessor. So I look forward to voting for you this evening. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that, Councilman.
Mr. Chairman,
Absolutely. Go ahead, Councilman.
thank you very much. Kevin, I really am very happy that you are taking this job, and your predecessor grew up in the 3rd District. You grew up in the 3rd District. He was an advocate for the 3rd District. I hope you will be an advocate for the 3rd District, which is the most important district in Baltimore County. And do your 2 sons go to public school in Timonium?
They do not.
Okay. I won't ask why, but anyhow, to your wife, I guess you know that he's taken on quite a responsibility, and I'm sure that especially during budget time, he's not home as much as he used to be home. So I thank you for your patience and for all the support that you've brought with you. I know you appreciate it, and all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman.
And Mr. Reed, how old are your children?
Oh boy, tough questions tonight. Grant is 9 and Brendan is 12.
Very good.
You know the right numbers that count.
My son was 7 when I was elected, and my daughter was 1. I hope you bring them to future meetings because they should be very proud of the work you're doing. And it's always good to see government in action. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And when I come home late at night, kids, it's because I'm with these nice folks, usually doing some good work.
Well, I tell you, we're happy to have your family here, and certainly I'm going to pick up on what my colleague Councilman Katz said about not being home. And we realize that is a burden on the family that he has to spend so much time. So we've actually, since you're not on the payroll, we've given him extra money to give to you for understanding that he's being here. So make sure you hit him up for it. Okay. Any additional comments, questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
From one fellow Delaware graduate to another.
Blue hens.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Young, Aye. Mr. Patoka.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Congratulations, Director Reed.
Thank you.
You want? Mr. Secretary, next person, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Next, for the council's consideration for confirmation is the county executive's nomination of Mr. Leonard Howie to be the Director of the Department of Economic and Workforce Development.
Mr. Howie?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. First point of order, I hope you noticed that I did not bring a book up today. Since you mentioned that last time, I have one piece of paper.
All right, all right.
All right, Baltimore County is an outstanding place to live, to work, and to play. The department I lead plays a central role in keeping it that way. From the time this council confirmed my first appointment back in 2020, you have been nothing but supportive of the mission of the Department of Economic and Workforce Development. And the very nature of the work that we do means that I have the privilege of interacting with you at the district level to address the concerns of your constituents. And in that context, your support and engagement has been unwavering. I'm honored that the county executive has once again placed my name in nomination to be confirmed to the position of director. County Executive Olszewski, County Administrative Officer Rogers, and the entire leadership team provide the level of support and engagement that any department head would welcome. With the support of such a dynamic team, there is no doubt in my mind that the residents of Baltimore County will continue to receive the level of service that makes us all proud. My long, extensive career includes executive positions in labor and economic development environments. It has included roles as an attorney, as well as service to our nation as a U.S. Marine. My belief in the value of every individual is at the heart of how and why I choose to lead. I am grateful for the opportunity to be one of the many voices that help to guide this department, and I respectfully request your favorable vote so that the work ahead can continue.
Thank you very much, Director Howie. We appreciate your service to Baltimore County and, again, your long history of service, or public service, I should say. We certainly appreciate it very much. And any additional questions or comments? Do you have anyone with you, Director Howie?
I don't believe I do. Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, you
I have
adopted
a
a-
room full of friends and colleagues.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Well, look, we certainly appreciate you and appreciate the work you're doing and look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you.
So, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Cash?
Aye. Mr. Howie, you didn't recognize them? Do you know them?
I'm just so overcome. I wasn't expecting this overwhelming support, so my apologies.
Okay, the ayes have it. Congratulations. Mr. Secretary, next person, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, for the council's consideration for confirmation is the county executive's nomination of Ms. Laura Riley to be the Director of the Department of Aging.
Yeah. Director Raleigh, how are you doing? It's good seeing you again today, 2 days in a row. I mean, two times in one day. You were kind enough to be there today for this wonderful occasion where we talked about, we broke the ground for what, $8 million improvement and addition to the Woodlawn Senior Center.
Absolutely. It
Which-
was a wonderful event.
A wonderful event, and it has been a long time coming. One of the things I mentioned was the advocacy of the seniors. They never, ever, ever missed an opportunity to tell me how much they needed improvements and additions to the center. No matter where I was, in the supermarket, wherever, one of them would find me and say something about it. I'm sure they probably treat you the same, Councilman Patoka.
Yes, they did. It was a wonderful event this morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Okay, Director Raleigh, take it away. You have any friends, any colleagues, any relatives?
I believe anyone here over the age of 60 is part of my people. So-
Okay, all right, all right, all right. Good one,
But-
good one.
Yep, they're all mine.
All right.
First, I want to thank the county executive and Madam CAO, as well as the council, for the confidence and the support that you've shown in me over the past 4 years. As I mentioned last week, I've spent my entire 37-year professional career serving the older adults of Baltimore County at the Department of Aging. And I'm proud to say that we continue to innovate and we continue to grow to serve the aging community. I look forward to continuing in that role in any way that I can to support the residents, as well as as Madam Mayo likes to say, we like to help people live, work, play, and age well in Baltimore County. So I look forward to a favorable vote to continue the great work we've done.
Thank you so much. And I must admit, I remember reading somewhere that, we have quite a few seniors here in the Baltimore County area. Obviously, a lot of them choose to stay right here. We're certainly appreciative of them being here. And we want to do everything in our power to make sure that they continue to have the quality of life they deserve right here in Baltimore County. So I thank you so much for leading those efforts. And of course, I thank you for your 37 years of service to the citizens of Baltimore County. That's very commendable, and we thank you so much. So any additional questions or comments from the members?
I'll move the nomination.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch.
Aye.
Mr. Marks.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The appointment is confirmed. Congratulations. Mr. Secretary, next person, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is the council's consideration for confirmation of the county executive's nomination of Mr. Michael G. Freed to be the Director of the Office of Information Technology.
Freed, how are you, sir? Good, good.
Good evening,
Good evening, sir.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council. I'd like to first thank you again for this opportunity to be before you to ask for your nomination. I'm here with some wonderful family. It's not a competition with DPW TSER, but I think we're winning. We have from the OIT office, we have Kelly, who's our chief of staff. We've got Chris Martin, who's our wonderful deputy, and Tom DeLuca, who's the chief technology officer for the county. All of them represent what is clearly the best agency within this government, sir. And then behind them, my lovely wife, Ashley, my son, Landon, and Lucas are hiding back there somewhere as well. I want to thank them for their support in coming out. And again, I'd finally like to thank the county executive and Madam CAO for this opportunity and for their nomination. As I had stated to you before, Baltimore County is a special place in my heart and my life. My wife and I lived in Owings Mills for 10 years, where we had our two wonderful children. We have doctors here. We have several ties back here and love it very much. I myself have a bachelor's degree in information technology and a master's from Johns Hopkins in cybersecurity. I worked in the private sector for several years before transitioning to health and human services technology for the city of Baltimore for about 8.5 years. I believe passionately in the groundwork that's been laid here in the Office of Information Technology, and I think we're poised to do amazing things. I think we have a foundation of incredible strength. We can build on it to be more agile, responsive, work with our regional partners, as well as tap in to the residents of Baltimore County and unleash their creativity. I believe we can be a national leader in equitable technology as well as cybersecurity. And I would ask for your favorable vote this evening. Thank you very much.
Well, we certainly appreciate you being here, and we certainly appreciate you bringing your family, which is very good. And again, you two have a very extensive background, and I think you're going to do well. We certainly have an awful lot riding on you and your staff, keeping all of our information safe, especially as it relates to very critical systems to keep the government working so that we can continue to provide the service to the citizens that we're entrusted to do. So I'm looking forward to working with you. Any questions or comments from the members? As you can see, we're a very tight-knit family here, so we're very happy that you brought your family with you. So
I'll move the nomination.
it's been moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Secretary, next person, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is the council's consideration for confirmation of the county executive's nomination of Robert Smith to be the acting director of the Department of Recreation and Parks.
Director Smith, how are you doing this evening? Very good.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
County Council members. Thank you for this consideration tonight. I do also have family here as well. Other than my adopted family of Lawrence Richardson in the back, my wife Shannon is here as well in support.
Hello, Shannon.
And to borrow from Director Riley, I also include my family, anyone who's used the park, gym, ball diamond, walking trail, or pavilion in Baltimore County.
Okay, great.
I'm a lifelong member, a lifelong resident of Baltimore County, graduate of county schools and the University of Baltimore. Grew up in a recreation family. I've spent the last 34 years of my life, 25 of them professionally, in this field of recreation in Baltimore County. I've worked at all levels of our agency, from the field all the way up to my current position in the main office. I come with a deep knowledge of our system and appreciation for the history of our agency, the team who makes this agency run, and the volunteers who are an integral part of what we do here in Baltimore County. I've also received multiple professional certifications, graduate from the Leadership Baltimore County program, and most recently complete year one of the National Recreation and Parks Association's Director School. I will complete year two this August. These experiences allowed me to see different systems, other options, and learn from other professionals. I hope I represent what can be a path forward that highlights both the important community-focused and driven system we have and builds on a foundation as we reimagine what we do here in Baltimore County with recreation. Focused on our service to our partner groups and councils, service to our staff and team members, and most importantly to the residents, visitors, and communities of Baltimore County. I'd like to thank the county executive for nominating me, Madam CAO for her unwavering support, and I respectfully ask for your consideration this evening.
Thank you so very, very much. And again, Director Smith, we thank you for your 25 years of service to the citizens of Baltimore County. It's very commendable. And I have known you for quite some time. You've been a constant professional, hard worker, and another problem solver that, comes along and get things done. So
Thank you, sir.
thank you very much. And any additional questions or comments? Yes.
Yes, Mr.
Grant?
Chair. You knew something was coming, Bob.
Yes, sir, Councilman.
I'm just very pleased that you were able to find at least one person from District 7 to join you this evening.
I'm married to her, sir.
And yes, and the most important person in your life. So it was good to see your wife here with you tonight, and in advance of our vote, congratulations, well deserved.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman Patoka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Smith, I just want to share with you similar comments that the chair made and Councilman Crandall. I've known you for many years, have always thought very highly of you. I think you've done an outstanding job and have always been a consummate professional. And it seems to me that you love what you do. And so I'm happy to vote in the affirmative to allow you to do what you love.
Thank you, sir.
There a motion to approve the appointment?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Congratulations, Director Smith.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Secretary, next person, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Next for the council's consideration for confirmation is the county executive's nomination of Mr. Walt J. Pesterfield to be the director of the Baltimore County Department of Corrections.
Yes, Mr. Pesterfield. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Councilman Jones and councilman members. It is an honor to be present here today before you. Again, my name is Walt Pesterfield, and I'm here to seek your confirmation as the Director of Corrections for Baltimore County. I want to thank our CE, our CAO, Ms. Rogers, DAO, Rebecca Young, for putting their faith in hiring me for this very important position. I want to thank my beautiful wife, Rhonda Irish Pesterfield, for her love and support over 36 years. Without her, I would not be here today. I also want to thank my mother that is watching this live stream. She's 83 years old in Pauls Valley, Oklahoma. So hi, Mom. My son and daughter-in-law, Derek and Tara, they're in Oregon. And my daughter Brooke and her fiance Mitch, also in Oregon. A little bit about my background. I earned my bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Northeastern State University, where I also played football, and my master's degree in public administration from National University. I began my career in 1991 as a police officer in Central California. And then my experiences took me across the country in nearly every level of the criminal justice system. In my 32-year career, I've gained work experience in multiple disciplines within the criminal justice system. From my time as a law enforcement officer to managing adult parole programs to statewide agencies, serving as a superintendent for the state of Nevada's maximum security youth male facilities, to the bureau administrator for the state of Arizona's Soul Youth Facility in Phoenix. These experiences have broadened my expertise and will serve to improve and expand on the services here in Baltimore County Department of Corrections. My vision for Baltimore County Department of Corrections relies on building a foundation of trust, being a model of servant leadership, and recruitment. Our responsibility as a detention center is to provide safe, secure housing for pretrial defendants and those defendants who have been convicted by the courts. For many of our individuals, this may be the first time they've had access to the services they need to turn their lives around. Providing mental health services, cognitive behavioral therapies, as well as medical services is part of our responsibilities as a correctional facility. We have an important role to play in keeping Baltimore County strong and safe by preparing individuals to return back to our communities with the skills and resources they need to be successful in our community. My wife and I want to be part of this community that offers diversity, history, as well as a community that is thriving and that offers an abundance of activities and attractions. Baltimore County offers all this and more. For these reasons, I ask for your approval and confirmation. I appreciate your vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pesterfield. And let me just say that taking on a very big responsibility. And I know you've had extensive experience all across the country, and we are banking that that experience will help you do well here in Baltimore County, and maybe you can teach us something. So we are certainly appreciate it. Are there any additional questions or comments from any of the members? We certainly appreciate you bringing your wife here. It's good to see you. And hello, Mom, out there on the internet. I'm sure somebody hooked it up for you, or maybe you did it yourself. We don't know where she is, do we, Chris? We don't.
She did it herself.
Well, I'm sure she did it herself, but we're good to see you, and we're happy you could join us, you and all your Mr. Pesterfield's family in Oregon. Is there a motion to approve the appointment?
So moved.
It's been moved. There a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Katz?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye. The ayes have it. Congratulations, Mr. Pesterfield.
Thank you very much.
So, first of all, we want to just thank everybody for coming out again in support of your favorite nominee. And we really appreciate you taking time to be here. Right now, we're going to move on and pay one bill, and then we're going to get into the bag ban bill. So now would be a good time to leave unless you really want to sit around and wait and discuss the bag ban with us.
Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting,
Yes.
we do have one more item of miscellaneous business. It is a resolution that is for introduction only this evening. It
Okay.
is Resolution 2-23, sponsored by Councilman Marks. It is seeks the council's approval of the development of the Greater Middle River Design Guidelines, again, just for introduction only this evening, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And while folks make their way, I'll ask you to, what do we have, one fiscal matter?
Yes, sir, we have one contract.
Okay, go ahead and read that contract.
Yes, sir. Actually, it is two contracts, but it is it is for consultant services, development of health communications campaigns through Health and Human Services.
Okay, extensive testimony was taken during the work session. Now we'll just ask you to read the covers.
The first, the two contractors, Mr. Chairman, the first is a contract with Gavin Communications LLC, and the second is a contract with Channel Communications Incorporated.
Are there any questions or comments from the members? Is there a motion to approve fiscal matters 1?
So moved.
Been moved. There a second? Can we get a second?
I'll second it.
Oh, there we go. Got a second? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on fiscal matter 1.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Katz?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Ayes have it, fiscal matter 1 is approved. We'll now consider all bills for final reading and vote. Mr. Secretary, first bill.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. First bill is Bill 1-23. This bill is sponsored by council members Patoka, Marks, and Ertel, the Bring Your Own Bag Act.
Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to hear from the sponsors, For co-sponsors, we'll have, then the secretary will read a little more about the bill, and then we'll get into the extensive amendments that have been presented. We'll go one at a time. I know we have quite a few, probably close to 10 or 9 plus or minus. And then we'll just go right through the list. That sounds good? All right, so we will start with Councilman Patoka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Bill 123, or Bring Your Own Bag Bill, the BYOB bill, addresses plastic bags. Plastic bags have been a menace on our environment for many, many years, and now we're going to address that issue. Bill 123 restricts the use of plastic bags. One thing that it does. A second thing that it does is it encourages shoppers to bring their own bag when you go shopping. Let me just say that Bill 123, the BYOB, the Bring Your Own Bag Act, it's not a tax. This bill is not a tax. This bill is about choice. And so this is the time when we have a choice when we go shopping to bring our own bags. I think it's the first step towards addressing the issue of plastic bag pollution. And I just want to thank the council in advance and thank the co-sponsors of this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councilman Patoka. I get a lot of emails about this legislation that begin this way. Why aren't you doing something about crime? Why aren't you doing something about school overcrowding? Why is plastic pollution so important? Well, obviously, public safety is our top priority. Our police, our firefighters, and paramedics should be adequately equipped, and all of us in this council should do whatever we can to advocate for them. And school overcrowding is important. Just last session, we took an important step to try to determine the site for a new high school in Baltimore County's east side. But yes, pollution is important. This county is intrinsically tied to the health of its waterways. We have 370 miles of shoreline in Baltimore County, and every year, despite the best efforts of volunteers, like the ones I was with yesterday in Bully's Quarters, the amount of garbage flowing into our Chesapeake Bay seems to increase. Our maritime restaurants and marinas are tied to the health of the Chesapeake Bay. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every year on trash booms. The Eastern Sanitary Landfill, which I represent, is nearing the end of its lifespan. If you are fiscally conservative, wouldn't you want to cut back on garbage so we don't have to ship that material out of state? We can have legitimate debates about this legislation. Unfortunately, there's been some very juvenile attacks, I think, raised about this bill. There have also been some very thoughtful arguments, and I think we're going to have some very meaningful discussions here on the dais tonight. But make no clear, I will support any efforts to reduce plastic pollution, to try to make sure we conserve the precious county resources we are spending on removing litter, and to preserve the vitality of our waterways and the Chesapeake Bay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Ertel.
I turned my mic off instead of on, sorry. I'd like to echo my two co-sponsors. In Baltimore County alone, we talked about this at the work session, almost 33 million plastic bags are used per year just in Baltimore County. It's about 1 million bags per day. And as Councilman Patoka said, the point of this bill is to reduce the number of plastic bags that end up in our trees, in our waterways, and in our landfills. And the fee that is associated with this bill is not a tax. It is to offset the cost of paper bags potentially to the retailers. We heard all kinds of testimony at the work session about the amount of plastic that is in the waste stream, that's in our waterways, that are in our fish. in our wildlife. And we need to do something now, as Councilman Marks had said. We also are nearing the end of our ability to house this or put our trash into landfills because we're almost out of landfill space. So this is another potential way to help reduce the amount of waste that we produce as Baltimore County citizens. And we just feel that it's time to do this in Baltimore County. It can be a hassle at times, but we all need to pitch in to make sure that we're doing what we need to do for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you. I will reserve my comments after anybody else want to make any comments? Well, go.
Might as well get my feelings out there now, considering I think we have a substantial conversation in front of us, right?
Absolutely.
So this bill has been talked about for a number of years. Mr. Chair, I believe I heard you on one of the news stations today saying that the council's been lobbied for a number of years on this bill. And I have, when this was brought up in a more serious way, I took a contemplative, deliberative approach on whether this is the right thing for us to do. And sometimes things on the surface seem like they are the right thing to do. However, it's the implementation and how they are done. So as I've gone through seeing the first drafts of this legislation and seeing the final drafts from Councilman Patoka, Marks, and Ertel, I've reached the conclusion that this bill is a complete government overreach into the relationship consumers have with the establishments that they patronize. I don't think that I've ever seen on my 8+ years in the council a more convoluted piece of legislation. In fact, so convoluted that it needed 10 amendments in an attempt to get it right. And all that we're going to do is establish a tax on consumers across Baltimore County. And I think this puts an undue burden on our business community, causes confusion in the marketplace, and creates an unenforceable mechanism to do all of these things that the bill promises to do. So that's where I stand on it. My amendments will, I think, reflect my thoughts on the bill, and I'm going to yield from there, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will tell you, I've given this bill tremendous thought. And who does not want to save the environment? Who does not want to make a clean environment? Who does not want to save Mother Earth and do everything we can do? I really believe that based on the statistics, I'm not sure how much we will be doing in the big scheme of things in terms of reducing plastics on the environment. I'm sure we can do our part and we can lead in that effort, and hopefully others will come along. I think the part of the bill that concerns me the most, and you can call it what you like. You can call it a tax. You can call it a fee. You can call it a gift. But the reality is, well, you can't call it a gift. I'll take that back. The reality is we're going to require citizens of Baltimore County to pay a fee, tax, extortion, whatever you want to call it, to a retailer for the use of a paper bag that we all agree is biodegradable and not a harm or hazard to the environment. And we're going to go so far as to say to the retailer, Even if the retailer, like some of the ones who have called me and said, I don't want to nickel or dime my customers. I appreciate my customers. That is a service that I provide. I don't want to charge a fee. But we, on this council, are going to decide tonight at this bill that we know more than you, Mr. Retailer. We're big brother. We're going to tell you what you're going to do and what's best for your business or what's best for Baltimore County. Even when you don't want to charge, we're going to make you charge. And to me, that runs in the face of all kind of principles that I try to live by here in this greatest country in the world. Starting with the freedoms that we have, right down to the ability for people to conduct themselves and run businesses here in Baltimore County. I believe in as little regulation or unnecessary regulation as possible. But in this case, given the times that we're in inflationary times, where everybody's talking about the cost of eggs and every price you can imagine is going up, we're going to take it upon ourselves to make someone pay for something that a retailer may want to give. And we're going to know better than them. And that's where I think the bill, in my opinion, takes a wrong turn. If it's all about banning plastic bags, I can get with that. But to make somebody pay for something, even if the retailer says, I don't want to nickel and dime my customers. I don't want to charge a fee for these paper bags. I've been giving them out for 30 years. Nope. We know more than you, Mr. Retailer. We're going to tell you. And I guess the question for me is, what next? We'll dictate the cost of a carton of milk. We'll tell them what to charge for a dozen eggs. Now, I know some of my colleagues will say, it's a choice. It's not a fee. You don't have to pay it. All you have to do is do what we say, and then you don't have to pay. I've heard that argument before. I've heard that argument far too many times when people say, oh, it's a choice. You don't have to do it. Just do as I say, and then you don't have to pay. It's sort of like saying, you don't have to pay taxes. It's a choice. Just don't pay and go to jail. I know that's a stretch, but the point is, it's not so much a choice when people show up at the grocery store and have to pay for a bag whether they want to or not, and whether the retailer wants them to or not. So that's where you lose me on the bill. Like I said, banning plastic, I've heard an awful lot about it. I've read an awful lot about it. I know that some people recycle the bags. Some people say they can't recycle the bags. Sometimes it's hard to just figure out where we are, but I think we definitely make a wrong turn when we decide to make people pay for something, even if the retailer says, I don't want to charge. We're going to make you charge. And we're going to go so far in the bill to say, you can't give a rebate for that bag. You can't do anything because we're going to make the customer pay. I guess. And I've put this out on social media to get input from the people. I sent email blasts, and I'm here to tell you it's probably breaking 55-45 against a bag ban altogether, but very few people, if any, support a fee on paper. Only the hardest people. Now, let's talk about what other people are doing. Montgomery County charges a fee for paper and plastic. Howard County charges a fee for plastic, not paper. Baltimore City, as I understand it, charges a fee for, what is it, paper? And they ban plastic. And so I guess that's the direction we're going, banning plastic altogether and charging a fee on paper. I think that's where we go astray. Any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, just a quick comment. I do not like the direction that the state is going in general. You have various subdivisions having their own plastic bag ban approached different ways. And I sit here calling on, please, the state legislature, please enact legislation so that we can have such a ban statewide, so that all the policies will be the same, so that our retailers will know exactly where they are, what they have to do or not do. So I think this is a state responsibility, but on the other hand, it's gotten so bad. I represent, as you know, northern Baltimore County, as I'm sure these people are tired of hearing, but you drive around northern Baltimore County, you see these plastic bags in the streams, along the road. We know that plastic bags, when they disintegrate, well, they don't quite disintegrate. The residue that they leave is killing sea life. We have, I think it's 1 million seabirds die each year from this plastic residue. 100,000 marine animals die. Only 10% of the total, the other way around, 10% of the total waste in this country is plastic bags. It's a very high percent, and we need to take some action now. And hopefully the state will enact legislation that will have policies the same statewide and will help us to fight this particular problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Catch. Any additional questions or comments? Okay, why don't we go right into the amendments? Okay, Mr. Secretary, let's start with, and let me get my papers together. Shoot, that's okay. That's all right.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Boswick?
Yes, sir.
First Amendment, please.
The amendments are in your binder books, Mr. Chairman, so if you'd like, or any member likes, you can follow along and they are in the order I believe they are going to be presented in your books. The first amendments are being offered by Councilman Patoka. There are several components to Councilman Patoka's amendments, and I will go through them. The first amendment, the first aspect is to clarify the definition of a retail establishment that is covered in the bill. And the definition also includes a number of examples of what a retail establishment would consist of, including a grocery store or supermarket, a general merchandise or department store, a hardware or home improvement store, a specialty products store, a pharmacy store, a liquor store, a jewelry store, a florist or gallery, a convenience store or a fuel service station with a convenience store, or any other retail store or vendor, including a temporary store or vendor at farmers market, street fair, or festival. So that is the first component, and it would also clarify that a retail establishment, and this goes into the next amendment, a retail establishment does not include what is defined as a small retail establishment. And the next amendment, the next component is the small retail establishment. The amendment would define this term as a store or food service facility or any other establishment that provides bags to its customers as a result of the sale of a good product or service, whether for profit or not for profit, that one, operates solely in the county or adjoining jurisdictions, and two, has 3 or fewer physical locations, And 3 is not part of a franchise corporation, corporate control group, or partnership that has physical locations outside of the county or adjoining jurisdictions. A small retail establishment also specifically would not include a liquor store, convenience store, or fuel service station with a convenience store. So this second component is something of a branch of the general definition of retail establishment, but it in essence, or not in essence, but it creates what has been dubbed a small mom and pop store retail store definition. And it also states that in the general definition of retail establishment does not include a small retail establishment. The next component of Mr. Patoka's amendment is to reduce the fee that would be charged from 10 cents to 5 cents. And then the next component would be to clarify that in the bill that a customer who does bring their own bag, their own reusable carry-out bag, shall not be charged the fee. The other component is that the amendment would also permit retail establishments to allow promotions or programs that provide incentives to customers to bring their own reusable bag. And then finally, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Patoka's, the last component of his amendments is to allow, I think, what could be called a grace period. The bill itself would not be triggered until November 1st, 2023, meaning the prohibition on plastic bags, as well as the retail establishment's obligation to charge the fee of 5 cents would not begin until November 1, 2023. That's current in the bill. This amendment, this final component, would provide a grace period of 90 days after that, which is essentially through the end of January 2024, so that there would be no penalties issued during that period up until the end of January 2024. I believe that is the sum of Mr. Patoka's amendments.
Sounds like another bill to me. I mean, there's so many things in this particular amendment, many of which probably should be voted on by itself, because the bill ranges everywhere from, on one hand, you're saying that at a farmer's market, they're going to have to pay or charge someone 10 cents or 5 cents, but we haven't gotten that far. 5 cents or 10 cents at a farmer's market to pay for a bag. And then in the end, we're talking about enforcement measures and when the bill would take effect. And and then we're defining what is included in a definition of who the bill would apply to. And then we had another section where we're saying who's not going to be included. It just seems to me, is there any way we can break this down to smaller pieces in case some people may have some issue? I mean,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt. Just for process, was the amendments been officially introduced, or is that just with the reading of it?
Well, the amendment has been, it's been actually introduced, but as a point of order, I'm thinking the amendment is awful long. It expanded several items that I think probably should be broken up.
Just with the introduction of the amendment, even with the consideration, isn't there a request for an motion before you get into discussion?
Well, I'll move the amendments.
Second?
And also I'll move to separate out the different parts of the amendment.
I don't second that.
Oh, I guess I can second it. Why don't you, what is the first part of the bill, the amendment?
Well, is there a motion, Mr. Chairman, respectfully, is the chair making a motion to separate the amendments? And I believe it's been seconded by Mr. Catch. Is that?
I moved.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, straight, yeah.
And I seconded.
Yes, I'm sorry, I got the order wrong. So there is a motion on the floor to separate the amendments as I read them. Do you want me, is
Yes.
there any discussion or?
How do you see separating the bills? Then we can, I mean, even if you knock it down to 3 sections.
Right, I think it can be, I mean, it can easily be separated into
It may not,
five sections.
it may not matter. Maybe everybody would be agreeable to everything, but it just, to me, it seemed like we went through an awful long gamut of items on one amendment. Yeah.
If I could offer some clarity on this. So there are just a few basic components outside of some administrative cleanup here. One is the main components of the amendment is to reduce the fee from 10 cents to 5 cents. Second is to identify smaller businesses that operate in Baltimore County. And the third major component is to allow for a grace period of 90 days from November 1st until January 31st. Some of the other pieces that Mr. Boswick stated are, I think, technical adjustments to the bill.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I believe that, let's take A, which is the definition of a retail establishment. It would be allowed if a member of the council would like to strike any of the stores that are listed there from this amendment. And then we vote on the striking, and then once we've done that, we can vote on retail establishment all at once. So if you want to eliminate farmer's market, you would move to eliminate it, and if it passes, it's gone.
Okay, fair enough. Sounds like an excellent idea to me.
There needs to be a vote.
Yep.
There needs to be a vote on that.
All right.
Vote on.
There was a motion by you to accept with separating it out, the amendment. There was a second, and we had discussion, and now there needs to be a vote on that.
Okay.
Correct.
Call the roll. It's been moved and seconded. Call the roll on separating the amendment as you see fit. Say again.
This is a motion by Councilman Catch, seconded by Chairman Jones, to separate the amendments, separate the components of Mr. Patoka's amendments into separate amendments. That's what the vote is on. Okay.
Got it.
And I'm prepared to call the roll, sir.
Call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Nay.
Mr. Marks?
No.
Mr. Ertel?
Nay.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
No.
Okay. Noes have it. We will,
Motion on the amendment.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Any additional, well, I'm going to open up the floor for discussion. I don't think we should be including a farmer's market, asking them to pay a fee for a bag that they offer someone at a farmer's market. I don't see where people can certainly show up at a farmer's market with their own bag, but if they buy 4 apples or 2 apples, 10 apples, and they give you a bag, why should we charge you for the bag? That's my point. I would like to see the farmer's market excluded from this list of people that would be required to be included in the bill. And I'll make a motion that we exclude farmers markets. A motion within the motion.
I would need to rescind my motion.
Say that again.
The motion at the table we're discussing is to move the amendment as is, and it was seconded. And now the discussion is on that. I would need to rescind my motion for you to consider pulling something out.
I'm not sure.
Well, I would ask the secretary, since we have voted to consider this amendment as a whole, can we now go back and pull out farmer's market or any part of it?
I also believe, if, unless I'm mistaken, that there is a motion to, there is a motion to move the amendment that was also seconded. So the amendment, as it is up for discussion and vote. And now, and while that has occurred, Mr. Jones has within that made a motion to delete an item within that amendment, within the overall amendment, which I believe he has the ability to do if he has a second.
Mr. Chair, just a point of order. I thought we already voted on separating the bill. And
Correct.
now we're coming back and doing that again.
Well, I'm not separating the bill. I'm just trying to strike farmer's market from the bill.
And there is a motion, and I don't know if, is there a second to do that?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on that?
I have a question of the sponsor, Mr. Patoka. If you bring your own bag to a farmer's market, aren't you exempt from this?
Yes.
Well, what's the point of this? I'm just asking.
Because if
bring
you
your
don't bring your own bag, then you would be subject to the bill.
You'll pay a fee for the paper bag at a farmer's market. Okay, we got a long way to go. I get it. So what it will do is been moved and seconded on striking the word farmer's market from the bill. It's on the floor. Call a roll on that, and then we guess keep it moving.
Just so I'm clear, and I don't mean to belabor this, what exactly is their motion is the motion to strike?
The word farmer's market from establishments.
Okay. So it would still include or vendor at street fair or festival, or everything after that?
Sure.
Okay. And you want me to call the roll on that?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Nay.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Nay.
Mr. Patoka?
Nay.
Mr. Catch?
Ayes have it. That language is struck from the amendment.
The word farmer's market.
And things that came, was there a few things after that? Street fairs, what have you?
There was the motion included farmer's market. I do not,
Okay,
yes.
okay. All right, the motion has been moved and seconded. Any additional discussion on the motion
For Amendment A.
for Amendment A?
Well, are we talking about,
I don't have an amendment A.
A.
No, no.
we're talking about
on the
Mr.
entire-
Patoka's amendment, sir.
Entire amendment.
R1,
I'm sorry?
1. The entire amendment 1.
Yes, yes, yes. The first amendment, the first set of amendments in your books, is there a motion to approve that amendment?
So moved.
Well, Mr. Chair, before there is a second, this is an opportunity to comment on this amendment, because now we're voting on the whole thing,
Yes.
right? So remember I used the words confusion in the marketplace and a bill that is entirely too convoluted? This is a perfect example of this discussion we just had, and this is the first amendment of 10 that we're going to look at. So to me, this amendment is picking winners and losers. We just picked the winners, the farmers markets, but the other losers in this, the other retailers and the consumers that patronize them, are still in the amendment. So we're sitting here picking the winners and losers, and we're still choosing whether a fee is charged to use a paper bag. And I've noticed in the language, if we're on page 3, line 17, it seems as if the word food service facility let me take that back. So I'm looking at page 4 after line 2, a food service facility. Well, food service facility is not an arbitrary phrase. It is a phrase that is codified by the state of Maryland. And a food service facility in the state of Maryland is defined as a place where food or drink is prepared for sale or service on the premises or elsewhere, or any operation where food is served to or provided for the public with or without charge. So this amendment goes in the face of the definition of what a food service facility is in the state of Maryland. And again, here we go, picking winners and losers and superseding what the state has already said a food service facility already is. So again, I go back to confusion in the marketplace and a very convoluted bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any additional conversation, discussion on the amendment? It's been moved and seconded.
It's not been seconded.
Has not been seconded?
No, I think I interceded before the second.
I think Mr. Young, Councilman Young, had seconded it some time ago.
It has been moved?
Following the motion from Mr. Catch, seconded by Mr. Jones, and voted on in the affirmative to strike farmers market, the amendment is now out there again, and I'm not sure who moved it this time. Mr. Catch.
We can do it all over again.
So there was Mr. Catch moving it, and then there was a discussion by Mr. Crandall.
Second, he seconded.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the amendment?
So
Let's do
moved.
it again. So moved. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Councilman Young. Call the vote on any additional discussion? Hearing none, call the vote on the First Amendment.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
No.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The First Amendment is passed, absent the word farmer's market. Mr. Secretary, next amendment, please.
The next amendment, Mr. Chairman, okay, the next amendment exempts food service facilities from the plastic bag ban and the charge by stating that the definition of a retail establishment does not include a food service facility except for a liquor store, convenience store, or a fuel service station with a convenience store. So again, and this amendment is sponsored by Councilman Catch and Jones. And again, this amendment would exempt food service facilities from the ban and the charge by altering the definition of the retail establishment so that it does not include a food service facility except for a liquor store, convenience store, or fuel station with a convenience store. Those three that I read, liquor store, convenience store, or fuel station with convenience store, would still be covered by the requirements of the bill.
Mr. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. To explain the amendment, this is the amendment that really takes restaurants out of this bill. I talked to a number of people who own restaurants, and I think they made a compelling argument about people bringing in their own bags and the possibility of those bags being contaminated. And they don't believe that people should be putting prepared food into these bags that are possibly contaminated. So that's the purpose of the amendment. Now, it does not exempt out like the 7-Elevens and the Royal Farms, et cetera, because unfortunately, we have a real problem with them. If you visit a convenience store with gasoline, unfortunately, you'll find a number of plastic bags disposed there. So this amendment exempts restaurants, but not the food service that's provided by a convenience store.
Thank you. Discussion on the amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead.
I go back to my previous comment on what the state definition of a food service facility is. And a food service facility certainly would include an establishment like a Royal Farms, which is preparing food on premises and selling it. Yet we're choosing unfairly, in my opinion, that they would still fall under the requirements of this bill. And Councilman Katz, something that you said that strikes me the wrong way is that these convenience stores are our biggest problem. So we're acting as if
No, I mean, it's one of our problems.
okay.
Yeah, well, I agree.
So, however, we're acting as if the retailer is the offender. And they're not the offender to the pollution. The offender are the people that don't treat their trash the correct way. So what we're doing is, again, we're picking winners and losers. We're changing the definition of what a food service facility is. And we are unduly getting involved in the relationship that customers have with the people they choose to patronize. And that will be a common theme of my comments tonight. So that's my comment on your amendment. Thank you.
There's no motion on the amendment.
Sorry.
There hasn't been a motion on the amendment.
I'll move it.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any additional discussion on the amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So just a question to the sponsor of the amendment. This would include all fast food restaurants, fast food?
No, they would not.
They would not be exempt?
No, they would be. I'm sorry.
They would be. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because the amendment that the council just passed, amendment number 1, addressed mom and pop style restaurants with 3 or fewer locations in Baltimore County. I think that our fast food chain should be a leader in terms of addressing plastic bag pollution. And so I think by including in this amendment the fast food chains, I think doesn't move the needle in the right direction in terms of curbing plastic pollution.
I think most of the fast food chains already use paper, and I think it was to my colleagues, I'll try to help out some. The gentleman that came in from the Restaurant Association made it very clear that they do not want, nor would they put their products in somebody's reusable bag because of the possibility of cross-contamination. We had somebody talk about what cross-contamination can do by a case where several hundred people went to the hospital. So they chose not to allow anybody to use not to use a reusable bag. And I guess this gets back to the point of why I call it overreach. So, what is the purpose in making somebody pay 10 cents when they go to a McDonald's and get a cheeseburger, or 5 cents? Like, what is the purpose to say what? Put the cheeseburger in your pocket? They can't bring a bag because the restaurant is not going to let them use a bag that they bring themselves, and they want to get a bag. So what would be the purpose of making them pay for a bag? Other than some type of punishment? Like, what would be the purpose? Is it a sin tax on a paper bag for a hamburger inside? The motion had been moved and seconded. Any additional comments? So again, the issue is about restaurants who do not allow people to take their product in their own bags because of the fear of cross-contamination. They only want to put their products in their bags because they know their bags are new and clean and not contaminated. So the motion on the floor is to exempt those restaurants from having to have to comply with this bill, correct? Correct. Any additional questions or comments? Mr. Secretary? It's been moved and seconded. Call the roll on the amendment.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
No.
Mr. Patoka?
Nay.
Mr. Catch?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
No.
Mr. Ertel?
No.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye. I
Okay.
don't like it, but.
The noes have it. So the next time the public has to pay an extra 10 cents for that hamburger or those chicken nuggets, I hope you remember who cast those votes. Next.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a point of clarification. The first amendment reduced it from 10 cents to 5 cents.
Right. Yeah. 5 cents. Okay. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
The next item that is in your books, I believe, is not moving forward, unless my information is incorrect. So then that moves to the next.
I don't know. What do we, I'm looking at this list.
I'm the one in your books, in your binder books.
And
So we've gotten through 2 sets of amendments. The first set being sponsored by Councilman Patoka, the second being sponsored by Council Members Catch and Jones that was just voted on. Then the next one was also sponsored by Council Members Catch and Jones. It starts with, on page 4, after line 23, insert the following. It was my understanding that that is not being moved forward, but if my understanding is incorrect, I'm happy to move with it.
I'm trying to get to where you are.
Right here. But I think the amendment is not written correctly in that it's supposed to just apply the part of the ban that deals with the fee, not the plastic bag.
That's what that amendment does.
It says this subsection shall not apply to liquor store.
Right, subsection.
Oh, so,
So I didn't know if that was being pursued or not, and I didn't want to skip it inadvertently.
yeah, what this amendment would do, now I don't frequent liquor stores. But I understand that when you buy a bottle of wine or miniature, whatever, that they're put in small bags. And this amendment would exempt those small bags from the 5-cent tax, but would not allow the liquor stores to use plastic bags. So those people that might know more about, that's not a fair statement I was going to make, liquor stores, but I won't, well, I don't know that much about liquor stores.
Well, I think the issue there was they use, many of them use all kind of small paper bags now. Some for
yeah.
very, very small miniatures and shorties and pints. And the issue was we were approached by the industry that said, hey, we use these paper bags. We do not want to charge our customers for these paper bags. We don't want to nickel and dime our customers. We've been giving out paper bags for 30 years. We chose not to use plastic, and we don't want to charge them. So this bill would exclude them, correct?
So if you were to buy 4 bottles of wine, would they put each bottle in a separate bag, then put it in a larger bag? That would mean 25 cents fee.
I would imagine if it's 5 cents a bag and you just told me you use 5 bags, then I guess that's 25 cents. Unless somebody want to correct me.
I think they put it in.
Would they put the wine in a bag in the box? Well, is the purpose of the bag safety? I mean, so the bottle doesn't break or what?
I don't think a paper bag is going to stop a wine bottle from breaking if you drop it.
Well, if you're dropping, yeah. But
I don't think a box will save you neither.
so,
But to your point, I guess the answer is yes, it will be 25 cents. Be 5 cents per bag. And you've just gave an example of 5 bags. 4 bottles of wine and 1 bigger bag.
correct.
Good point. Any additional discussion? Is there a motion to approve this amendment?
So moved.
It's been moved. I'll second it. Any additional discussion? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
No.
Mr. Patoka?
Nay.
Mr. Catch?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
No.
Mr. Ertel?
No. The noes have it, the motion fails. Mr. Secretary, next amendment, please.
The next amendment, Mr. Chairman, is number 7 in the document that Mr. Catch referred to, and it is the next amendment in your books. This amendment is sponsored by Councilman Catch and Jones. This amendment would amend the definition of a reusable carryout bag to include a bag that is currently a reusable carryout bag cannot be made of plastic film in any event. This amendment would amend the definition of reusable carryout bag to include a bag that is made of plastic film with at least a thickness of at least 2.6 mil.
Move favorable.
Second.
And this definition of a reusable bag is the same definition, or partly the same definition without all the additional detail as used in the California bag ban definition of recycling. Any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, this would allow the use of those heavy plastic bags that can be reused time and time again. So that's what this is all about.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
It's happened.
I
It's
believe
already
Mr.
happened. It's been moved and seconded.
Mr. Young and Mr. Catch.
Okay. Call the roll on the resolution. On the amendment.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
The ayes have it. This amendment passes. Mr. Secretary, next amendment, please.
The next amendment is sponsored by Councilman Crandall. This is number 2 in the document that Mr. Catch referred to, and it is the next amendment in your books. This amendment, sponsored by Councilman Crandall, has several components. The first would be to strike from the bill in its entirety the definition of a reusable carryout bag. Secondly, the second component is that it would strike the mandatory 5-cent charge and also strike the related provisions for not allowing a refund of the charge, for requiring the itemizing of the charge on a receipt, as well as the penalty provision related to the charge. And instead of making this charge mandatory, it would make it permissive. And instead of having a certain amount set forth as the charge, which has now been amended at 5 cents, this amendment would instead make this permissive charge and amount to be determined by the retailer.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment?
Just to introduce the amendment, in the spirit of the amendment, Mr. Chair. And we will revisit certain provisions of this amendment in an amendment of yours coming up soon. So I go back to the language I used earlier this evening, talking about the relationship between the consumer and the retailer. And by changing the words shall charge a fee for a paper bag and substitute may, and striking the amount that may be charged to simply an amount, it enables the retailer and the consumer to establish the relationship that they would like to have when it comes to the potential of a plastic bag ban. So that's the spirit of the amendments that Mr. Bostwick just described.
Okay, any discussion?
We need a motion on
Is there a motion to approve the amendment?
Move unfavorable.
Second.
It's been moved.
Well-
It's been moved and seconded.
Well, why can't we just move it second and vote on it? Why, I don't understand the.
The motion is to move it unfavorable. It's been seconded. So if you vote in favor of the motion, you're voting in favor of against the amendment.
We don't do that around here.
That's not
Either you move it.
how
or
it
you
works.
don't move
It
it.
is nomenclature, but I believe Mr. Young's motion is to vote on the amendment.
That's not what he said.
Motion to move unfavorable.
He said a motion to move it unfavorable, which is like a word play. If you vote for it, you're voting against it. If you vote against it, you're voting for it.
Negative.
That's not what we,
Not wordplay. Official rules of procedure.
not around here. Either you voting, if you make a motion for the amendment in front of us, or you can vote against the bill, but you can't make a motion or make a motion against the bill.
If you would like me to rescind my motion, just have to ask.
Councilman Young, just vote no, because I'll make the motion to vote on the amendment. Maybe I'll get a second, maybe I won't. And then vote your conscience. So I.
Councilman Friend,
I
would
move-
you
I
like
move
me to,
it- I
would you like me to rescind my motion? It's okay.
Yes, please rescind your.
I rescind my motion.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Is there a motion to vote on the
Yes,
amendment?
clear.
The amendment.
Okay,
I move that we vote on the amendment.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. Any additional discussion? Call the roll. It's been moved and seconded.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
No.
Mr. Patoka?
Nay.
Mr. Catch?
No.
Mr. Marks?
No.
Mr. Ertel?
No.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
The noes have it, the amendment fails.
Mr. Secretary?
Yes.
I believe that as a council, we probably need a policy in regard to moving favorable or unfavorable. I don't know why moving unfavorable's out of line. I know we don't do it, but I don't think it's out of line. Or is it part of our procedure?
Mr. Catch, I would have to get back to you on to make sure of my answer, but I don't believe it is part of our procedure. In terms of favorable versus unfavorable, we have never, we have not used that nomenclature in my 12 years here, and I don't know if we have I don't believe we have prior to that. So we can certainly revisit that. I understand a motion for unfavorable in a second, I believe, as Mr. Crandall or Mr. Jones indicated, in that event, if you vote for the unfavorable, you are essentially voting against the amendment.
Yeah, but I think we ought to make sure that it is not allowed. The unfavorable, I don't know why it wouldn't be allowed, but
Okay.
Well, it is semantics, but not to spend too much time on it, it can certainly be confusing if we've done something one way for as long as I've been here. And if you say you're making a motion against it, and then people may be thinking they're voting for it, but in fact, they're voting against it, it can just be a little confusing. So to keep it clean, we've always, the motion's on the floor, people can vote for it or against it. You need a second for it to move forward, which it would bring up a whole new can of worms when I'm thinking about it. If you had a difficult motion and somebody said, I moved the motion, and somebody else moved against it, then it's been moved and seconded, even though one of them is in favor and one of them is against it. A little confusing. But anyway, let's move on to the next amendment.
The next, Mr. Chairman, is the third amendment in that list that you have, and it is the next amendment in your books. It is also sponsored by Councilman Crandall, and this amendment deals with the point of sale signage that is required by the bill. This amendment offered by Mr. Crandall would make the point of sale sign that notifies customers of the charge permissive in rather than mandatory. So it would switch it from shall provide this signage at the point of sale to may provide this signage.
Move favorable.
And this is sponsored by Mr. Crandall.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Not only moved, but moved favorable. Thank you, Councilman Young.
You're welcome, Councilman Crandall.
It's not an issue if you move it favorable. It only becomes an issue if you move it unfavorable.
Well, you've already foreshadowed how you feel about it, I
As
believe.
if this whole process is not maddening enough. I think Mr. Bostwick described the amendment appropriately. And I think that this issue will also be contemplated in future amendments. So I don't believe that we should be telling businesses that they have to put a sign up, especially if we weren't charging a fee. So if the First Amendment that I proposed had passed, there would be no reason for a sign. But if you extend my thought process, if there is a fee that is mandatory, then it should still be up to the retailer to decide what signage they're going to put in their own establishment. So that's my feeling on that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to Councilman Crandall for bringing this amendment to the council's attention and for the robust discussion among its members to move its favorable passage. Just another show of bipartisanship between members from this entire county from east to southwest. Thank you.
I move your comments favorably.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, it's been moved and seconded. Call the roll on the amendments.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
It's unanimous. The ayes have it. The amendment passes. Mr. Secretary, next amendment, please.
The next amendment is sponsored by council members Catch and Crandall. This amendment is related to the exception that is currently in the bill that would not require retailers to charge those who are on SNAP or WIC and other programs for low-income residents. So currently, there is an exception in the bill so for the retailer not to charge for persons that are on SNAP or eligible using SNAP or WIC or other programs for low-income residents. This amendment, sponsored by Mr. Catch and Mr. Crandall, would strike that exception so that these individuals would be required, so that retailers would be required to charge them.
Mr.
Yes, discussion?
Actually, when I saw the bill, I was immediately offended by this part of the bill because I believe that we are one people. This is one Maryland, and we all are concerned about the environment. And I know people who are on one of these programs are as concerned as I am and everybody on this dais is. So this is the reason for the amendment, so that we don't separate a group and treat them differently than everybody else. I just think it's wrong. It reminds me of our schools sometime. You know, I was a school teacher and you had situations where it was talked about, well, this student can't really progress. You know, the student's not capable of this and that. And that is absolutely the wrong approach. Everyone, virtually everyone, is concerned about the environment, and to exclude a certain group from this legislation and from the idea that we want to eliminate plastic bags, I think it's just simply the wrong way to go.
Any additional discussion on the amendment? Is there a motion to approve the amendment?
Second.
Moved and second. Mr. Secretary, call the roll on the amendment.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to be a sponsor of the bill.
No, he's of the bill, not the amendment.
The, before we, yeah, I think I'm. In all of this confusion, I would like to definitely change my vote. We may have to do this again.
Okay.
Run the roll again on the vote.
It was unanimous to approve the amendment.
Correct. I guess we change my vote to no.
No.
I guess we were getting lost here and that's it. So the amendment passes. Next item.
The next amendment in your books is sponsored by Councilman Jones. This is amendment number 8 in the list, in the laundry list that you have. And it is the next amendment in your books. This amendment, sponsored by Councilman Jones, would amend the definition of plastic carry-out bag so that it does not include a compostable plastic bag. Currently, the bill states that a plastic carry-out bag does not include a compostable plastic bag, so that a retail establishment, so this amendment to not include compostable plastic bag in the definition of plastic carryout bag would allow a retail establishment to provide plastic not talking about the mill or what has already been dealt with in terms of what is a reusable carryout bag, but what is a plastic bag. And it would allow a retail establishment to provide plastic carryout bags that are compostable.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. What we're talking about here is biodegradable bags that's been engineered to degrade, and it does not fit the regular characteristics in terms of how long it takes to degrade in terms of a plastic bag. These bags are acceptable in the California standard. These bags are certified by a whole list of organizations, including the FDA, as well as many others, who say that this product, in a short period of time, will biodegrade and not leave any harmful residue or products behind. And that's certified by the FDA, as well as quite a few other organizations that certify this bag to be exactly what it is. This is probably the bag that the woman who called in, who said she owned 2 cafes and a food truck. And the woman who called said that she was doing the right thing and she had paper bags, but when the products would spill, it soiled somebody's car, and it caused her some concern to have to clean somebody's car. And then when it happened again, she decided she had to do something else, and that's when she decided to start using biodegradable bags. So she asked us to consider using biodegradable bags. Again, it's a whole list of organizations that approve it, but I think the most notable ones are the FDA, that the bag does what it is intended to do, which is break down in a short period of time. Are there any questions or conversation on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So the FDA or these, they certify that the bag is compostable?
Yes. The FDA, if you give me a minute,
Sure.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to show you all the organizations that certify the bag. USA certificates, EPI certification, ASTM D6400. That's one. U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved. Non-GMO products verified. International certificates are TUV Australia Industrial, another one in Australia, and I believe those are the certifications, not to get in all the, everything else. But that's what it is, a biodegradable.
Mr. Chairman, just so that it's perfectly clear what the amendment is or will be, currently, the amendment that is before you would state that a plastic carry-out bag does not include a compostable plastic bag that meets the specifications of the American Society of Testing and Materials International Standard Specification for Compostable Plastics D6400, and it ends there. Do you wish to have any other language added to that?
No, I think that's enough. I think from what I've read and understand, that standard is the highest standard or sort of the gold standard. I think if it meets that one, it's going to meet the others anyway.
What's it called again?
It is called the American, I think Mr. Jones read the acronym, but American Society of Testing and Materials International Standard Specification for Compostable Plastics D6400.
ASTM.
I'm not that fast, but okay. Say that.
And that, so essentially, not essentially, so a compostable plastic bag that meets that specification would not be included in the definition of a plastic carryout bag that another section of the bill bans.
And some of the other research I did on this particular bag, these type of bags are not cost effective compared to a regular plastic bag. Plastic bags are much cheaper. But if you remove the plastic bags, they are certainly compatible in cost to a paper bag. So it would provide an option for the retailer or whoever if they chose to do it. Yeah. The ASTM D6400 is currently the ultimate test for a biodegradable, compostable product's ability to decompose in ideal composting conditions.
So to follow up on Mr. Ertel's comment, the bill currently has a general plastic a general plastic carryout bag ban. And the bill currently says that plastic carryout bag that is banned includes a compostable one. Mr. Jones's amendment would actually say that a plastic carryout bag does not include a compostable one, so that if a retailer wanted to provide a compostable plastic bag to its customers, it could do so, because it would not be a plastic carryout bag under the definition.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Are we including this, we're not including the, whatever it is, the American, whatever. We're not including that they would have to certify?
No, it is. It is.
Oh, okay.
It is.
They have to have that certification.
That is already in the bill.
Okay, good. Okay.
And, if I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Is there, from my understanding, there's a difference between compostable and biodegradable?
I think.
And is the standard that you're talking about in your amendment, is it compostable, which means it breaks down into organic material, or is it biodegradable, which seems to me to be something quite different?
Well, according to the documentation that I'm reading here, they sort of use them almost the same, compostable and biodegradable.
Okay, again, it's my understanding that they're not the same thing, so I want to, but your amendment says compostable, which is, I think, the more favorable
Sorry.
and most understood type of bag that we're talking about here. If that made any sense. I just don't want us to confuse compostable with biodegradable if they are indeed two different things. But your amendment only says compostable.
Well,
So,
to be clear, we can put compostable / biodegradable, but I think from what I read, no.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
do
go
that.
ahead, go ahead. You read it
So
like I did.
a compostable bag is the more desirable type. If you are going to permit a plastic bag, it is the more desirable type of bag over biodegradable, because at least based on the research that Mr. Phillips and I did, a compostable bag is a biodegradable bag. But the difference being that a biodegradable bag may still be made of plastics that may biodegrade, but they still may be leaching toxins into the soil or whatever the environment. Whereas a compostable bag that meets that standard, the ASTM standard, yes, the ASTM standard is one that's generally made of plant material. And so when it does compost, it is in a similar way that the materials that are in that bag, like food scraps and other what's the word I'm looking for? Other degradable materials, it is degrading in the same fashion as those natural products that you're putting into those bags. So that the bag, as well as what's in the bag, degrades, but it's not toxic because it's made of plant material. The bag, it's a plastic, but it's plant based.
So what you're saying is it does not leave a plastic residue.
It does not it does not leave a toxic plastic residue because it is made from plant material as opposed to petroleum products and the like. That's what a composting bag does, plastic bag does. Whereas a simply biodegradable one might not be made of plant material, and it still might biodegrade, but it's not as natural and non-toxic necessarily as a composting one.
Okay, any additional?
I have a question.
Yes.
Approximately how long does it take for this type of bag to disintegrate?
Compostable?
Yeah.
Again, based on the research, and Adam, feel free to chime in, but if you have a compostable plastic bag and it's one that's plant-based, and you, let's say, put food scraps or other degradable materials, from the house in it, and you throw it away, and it eventually gets taken to the landfill, and it is going to degrade, but it isn't going to degrade as quickly as those natural food scraps and things. However, composting bags are made so that if they were put in a composting facility that is specifically made for these types of things and are engineered so that it speeds up the process generally, because if you recall from the bill that Councilman Catch sponsored a few months ago, there can be forced aeration, which accelerates the process, and other means in a in an actual facility, then those bags are engineered to actually decompose at a very similar rate as the other materials.
Probably just as fast as paper.
I do want to point out, though, that a few articles that I did find from 2019, specifically one from PBS NewsHour, did describe an independent UK study of these biodegradable bags. They left the bags buried in garden soil, submerged in ocean water, and exposed to open light. I believe it was a 3-year study, and they did find that they did not break down in that 3 years. So
Now, is that biodegradable or compostable?
I believe these were. The article did not specify a difference between biodegradable or compostable. So unfortunately, without more research and trying to find the study itself, I cannot tell you.
Do you know if the article concluded that these plastic bags, when they degraded, left plastic residue?
Microplastics.
Yeah, so
I'm sorry.
one of the specific leftover pieces was microplastics, but it's unclear whether those microplastics are actually going to break down further so that they would not, they degrade completely.
Right.
Are we talking about compostable, biodegradable, or both?
Well, I think Mr. Chairman, the article that Mr. Phillips brought up did not make that clear. So I think that's still that's up in the air. The research that we have done, I don't want to sit here like I'm an expert and tell you if it's compostable, it's gold, but I just wanted you to be informed that there is a difference, to Mr. Crandall's point, between biodegradable and compostable. Something that is compostable is biodegradable by its very nature, but the flip side is not necessarily true. Something that is biodegradable is not necessarily compostable based on what they're made of. And compostable, that would be approved by the ASTM and the D6400 standard, is one that would be compostable. But to Mr. Marks's point, it's hard to say whether that would be at the same rate as the other items that are being put in that bag or not. And I think if you wanted to find out definitively, or at least have better answers than what we can give you as dumb lawyers, you would, that would need to be pursued.
Okay. Well, listen, I don't know how much more we can learn here tonight. I put it on the table. I read about it. California standard accepts it. I read about it. It talked about all the certifications that it has. I know there's some question about whether we're talking biodegradable or compostable. The amendment says compostable. And you indicated that it's made of plant-based materials and not petroleum products, or not as much petroleum. I'm not sure. I'll guess say not as much. And he said no. Yeah, he said no, but I'm just, I don't know other than what I read. So any more discussion on it? I'm going to move that we be able to use compostable bags. I'll move it. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
No.
Mr. Ertel?
No.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Nay.
Mr. Young?
No.
The nays have it. The amendment fails. Next amendment, Mr. Secretary.
Next amendment, also sponsored by Chairman Jones, is an amendment. It is number 9 on the list that you have. And it is the next amendment in your books or your binders. This amendment would delete entirely. So you have already, the council has reduced the fee from 10 cents to 5 cents. The council also considered Mr. Crandall's proposed amendment to make the fee amount and the requirement of a fee permissive rather than mandatory. This amendment by Mr. Jones would request that the council delete entirely the provisions in the bill that require a retail establishment to charge, collect, and retain 5 cents for providing paper or reusable bags, and all of those related provisions of not being able to refund the cost of the reusable bags, itemizing the receipt, and then not charge. Well, that one was already. So in any event, it would be more of an across-the-board deletion of the fee.
Oh, thank you. I think we all are in favor, or most of us are in favor of saying that plastic bags are bad on the environment. And I think we all can agree, or I could buy the fact that plastic bags are bad and I like to ban them. However, when we get to a place where we're going to charge or we're going to make, I mean, it's so ridiculous at this point. We're going to make people pay 5 cents for a bag when they go to a McDonald's and they don't have the ability to bring their own bag because McDonald's is not going to put their hamburger in your bag. You're not going to go to a restaurant with your reusable bag and have them put their food in your bag. We're going to tell people, you must pay this amount of money, whether the retailer wants you to pay it or not. Whether or not it even, at this point, whether or not it even makes sense or not. We're just going to do it because we are locked and loaded into this bill, and we're just marching into the sunlight, marching off the cliff, marching wherever we're going. And I'm okay with I can disagree with some of the aspects of the bill, but I certainly can understand the rationale. I can understand the rationale when you say, hey, if you don't want to pay the fee, bring your own bag. I disagree, but I could get it. But in this case, we know that you don't have a choice to bring your own bag because the gentleman from the Restaurant Association made it clear, due to cross-contamination, they're not going to put their food in your bag. Yet, we're going to make you pay 5 cents for the bag that you get from even McDonald's or someplace else. So this provision here tries to strike that language so that, we get back to a place where we can just focus on the intent of the bill, which is to ban plastics and not focus on taxing people or making them pay a fee or whatever you want to call it. So that's it. Mr. Secretary, any more discussion on the amendment? I'll move the amendment.
Second.
Since second, Mr. Secretary, call the roll on the amendment.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Yay.
Mr. Catch? Mr. Marks?
No.
Mr. Patoka?
Nay.
Mr. Young?
Nay.
The nays have it. The amendment fails. Next amendment, Mr. Secretary.
I believe the next amendment is also the final amendment or set of amendments. And this amendment, essentially, in the event that the charge is retained in the bill after all the amendments, which is currently the case, This amendment offered by Councilman Jones would make 60% of that charge, so 3 cents of the 5-cent charge, to be remitted to the county and for a fund known as the Environmental Education and Enhancement Fund to be created in order to allow the 3 out of 5 cent proceeds of the charge to be placed in a fund and spent by the county directly or dispersed as grants by the county to entities for purposes such as water quality education, stream cleanups and restoration, litter pickup activities and anti-litter education, or education to the public about reducing the use of disposable plastics. So again, in summary, this amendment would create a fund and allow the county to be remitted 3 of every 5 cents, or 60%, that is charged by the retailers to create this fund and fund this fund.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. So this amendment really attempts to make lemonade out of lemons, to be quite frank. I don't think it's a good idea that we charge people a fee. But if we are going to charge someone a fee, I want to do what I think is in the best interest of the citizens of Baltimore County and the environment in which we live in planet Earth. This bill, just like DC, just like Montgomery County, just like Howard County, will establish a fund where that monies can go into the fund and we can do other things to protect and clean the environment and keep our streets and streams clean. This Environmental Education Enhancement Fund would give citizens, community associations, various organizations in our county a place where they can go and petition the government for funds so that they can do cleanup efforts, so they can get funds for anti-litter campaigns, so that they can get funds to do things that will enhance the quality of water that flows through Baltimore County, enhance the cleanliness of streams, enhance the do educational programs. It would basically, instead of giving all the money to the retailers, which is what the bill does now, it would retain some of these funds for Baltimore County so that we can pass and make those funds available to citizens and organizations throughout Baltimore County. I think it would be a great opportunity so that whether it be litter pickup campaigns, stream cleanup, education, additional reusable bags, you name it, all of these things can come out of this fund. And if a citizen, a community association or a group, a nonprofit group or a school or whoever had an idea, then they can solicit funds from this fund to make that idea come to fruition. I think this is a much, much bigger, better idea in terms of protecting our environment and giving the citizens the tools they need to be engaged and involved. The reality is right now, the monies that the citizens will pay are going to go to the retailer 100%. And it'll be up to the retailer to decide what they do with those funds. So here's an attempt to try to get the citizens involved, give them an opportunity to participate, give them an opportunity to go and get funds, materials from the government to do their cleanup. And I know that we do a lot of things now, like we sponsor dumpsters and what have you, but this is something else. This goes beyond those efforts that we're doing now and provide a fund for the citizens to reach out to and get some of the monies. Any additional discussion on?
Chair?
Yes.
Very quickly, does the audit office have any idea how much revenue would be generated from this?
I don't think the auditor office have a clue because I don't think we know what Howard County gets. Do we know? Do we know what anybody else are getting from their fees? But we don't know.
Mr. Chairman,
I would imagine it's going to be a lot if we're charging for every bag that leaves
think-
McDonald's, Burger King, and every other fast food restaurant in Baltimore County. I would imagine it's going to be a lot pretty soon.
Right, and it could be a moving target, and what I mean by that is remember the bill says that the retailer must charge at least 5 cents. So, and the amendment says that the county would receive 60% of that, whatever is charged by the retailer. So if a retailer does charge only 5, then the county would get 3. But if a retailer charged more, then the county would potentially get more.
It's also worth noting that Howard County charges for both plastic and paper, whereas these charges would only be for paper. So it's not apples to apples.
Mr. Chairman, I would feel, I think that the schools already teach about the environment and plastic bags, except it's already taught. But I think the important part of what you want to do is, I think, if it can provide money for grants for people to clean up the streams, clean up the streets, et cetera. I mean, I think that's a worthwhile cause, but we don't know how much money we're talking about.
Well, believe me when I tell you, I'm here to tell you now, I'm not an economist, but I know that if we're charging 5 cents per bag, that leaves every fast food restaurant in Baltimore County, it's going to be a lot of money. Collectively, it's going to be a lot of money. Heck, it'd be a lot of money for my family. But anyway, to your point, it would provide funding for a place where organizations, schools, whoever can come and solicit a grant for an idea to keep our environment clean the streams, you name it. That's why it's called Environmental Education and Enhancement Fund. It would make something really, really positive come from this in terms of collectively cleaning our environment. Is right now what we're getting is try not to bring any bags. We're going to ban the plastic. We're going to charge for the paper. But this would create a fund. The retailers are still getting 40% of the money to help cover their costs. And we will get some of the money, just like every other jurisdiction that is charging funds, where we can use those funds to help continue to enhance the environment, to enhance education, I mean, the reality is this bill that we have says absolutely, this is the only place in this bill that we even mention the word education. Now, I have a lot of faith and confidence that the administration are going to go out and talk about this bill and give away free bags and everything else. But the reality is, I'm not talking about right now. I'm talking about for many years to come. As long as this bill is in effect, I want to be able to keep that going by giving the citizens, students, nonprofits, various organizations a place where they can apply for a grant to do good work. I know that, a couple of my friends here are Eagle Scouts, and they did some wonderful good work. Just imagine how far some of these Eagle Scouts can go if they had a place that they can apply for funding to fund some bigger, grander ideas to keep our environment clean. So that's what I'm talking about here. And you can let your imagination run wild, but the idea is to take this, a portion of that fee, not all of it, a portion, and put it to some really good use here in the county towards education in the environment.
Chair?
Yes.
Can I make one comment?
Sure.
So I think it's an admirable goal. The problem with it is that then businesses have to, they have a whole bureaucracy of things that they have to keep track of now. So it becomes a tax, and then businesses have to account for, collecting that money, reporting that money, and then sending it to the county. And then we all know that often in the county, then how do people access that money? It just sets up, there's a lot of things. I think maybe it's something we revisit, but I think it's something that's not necessarily, it just adds a lot of onerous to what we're doing here.
Well, I'm going to certainly understand your point, but businesses pay taxes now. Businesses comply with regulations now. Businesses have rules to live by, and they have accountants, and they do it when they guess ma and pa and everybody else. But the reality is, I'm looking at the good that this money can do for our community. If it is the goal of this council to increase the environment in which we live, if it is the goal to pass this bill because we think that cleaning the environment by ridding plastic bags is a good thing, then surely you should be in support of something like this that will multiply our efforts by basically giving the resources and the tools to every organization in Baltimore County who can go out and do things in an effort to clean our environment or provide additional education and awareness. You name it, it would be, it's hard for me even to fathom all the things we could do with these funds when somebody come forward with a great idea. There will be funds available for them to do it. Right now, those funds are going into the pockets of the retailers and the end. Any additional discussion? Mr. Secretary, call the roll. Oh, I'll make a motion to approve it. Is there a second? Is there a second? Okay. No second. Last call for the second? Nope, not going to happen. Okay. Mr. Secretary, are there any additional amendments?
There are no additional amendments, Mr. Chairman.
Move the bills amended.
Second.
Okay, any discussions on the bill? I think, this is very, very difficult for me because I certainly support a ban on plastic bags. I think that is a good idea. But it's very difficult for me to sit here and see us go so far. And the ultimate, I started out saying that it was bad that we would require somebody to pay a fee for a product, a plastic bag, even when the retailer doesn't want it. But tonight, we've even gone even further. We're passing, you want to pass a bill where a person is not even allowed to bring a reusable bag to a fast food restaurant. No restaurant is going to put their product in a reusable bag. And yet, we're going to charge them 10 cents for the bag from McDonald's or Burger King, or Chick-fil-A. I just think we have gone entirely too far. And like I said, I support banning plastics, but I can't support extortion. And that's where you lose me. Any additional questions or comments? Mr. Secretary, the bill has been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jones?
Nay.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
No.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
The ayes have it, the bill is passed. So Mr. Secretary, I believe, is there any further business coming before the council?
The only other item was Bill 2-23. Mr. Chairman, that bill was withdrawn prior to the meeting. So beyond that, there is no further business, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, as is customary, anyone who is signed, first of all in favor, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, the meeting is adjourned. As is customary, anyone who is signed up to speak prior to the meeting are allowed 3 minutes to speak. It's my understanding that we have a few speakers.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. I believe Ms. Belcastro has the con.
Our first speaker this evening is Douglas Stanley, and Mr. Stanley is here in person.
Okay, Mr. Stanley?
Ms. Belcastro, I know Mr. Stanley is a constituent, and I don't believe he is here any longer.
Okay. Our next speaker is virtual, and it is Keith Taylor, and I think Mr. Taylor is still on.
Mr. Taylor?
Mr. Taylor, you're on as a panelist.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Good evening, everybody. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the time.
Sure.
This could take more than about 4 minutes, if that's okay.
Okay, we'll give you a few extra minutes. We'll give you a little more. Go right ahead. Let's see where we
I
go.
know it's a long night, and I've been here myself, so I'll be brief and to the point. My name is Keith Taylor. I'm president of the Sparrows Point North Point Historical Society, and I'm testifying on behalf of the thousands of members in the Society for the Beacon of Hope project behind Sparrows Point High School. I'm a retired Baltimore County school teacher from Tapscott High School. The Sparrows Point North Point Historical Society, whose mission is to collect, preserve, and interpret the rich history of the community for the education and enjoyment of the present and future generations. This organization was established in March of 2018 as a 501c3 nonprofit in good standing with the state of Maryland and part of the charity campaign. We have embarked on many projects within the community. The first is the Beacon of Hope project on Sparrows Point High School grounds. By the way, District 7 is not only lucky, but biblical as well. The community and the Historical Society recognized that entry to the fields of the school was purely lit. The catalyst for the Beacon of Hope project was the recent sale of Sparrows Point Bethlehem Steel property to Trade Point Atlantic. The Historical Society, to preserve part of the history of the steel mill, was able to acquire several historical cast iron lampposts from the grounds of the former Bethlehem Steel plant. Through fundraising efforts and community involvement, the posts were removed and restored for the Beacon of Hope project. The lamps will be solar powered through a remote solar package that will be tied to the electrical grid. When the lights are not in use at the school, the 6,000 watts generated every hour will go back to the school's meter, saving energy and money for Baltimore County Public Schools. The project vision expands to include phase 1 of the project, a 4,000 square foot pollinator garden that was installed November 26, 2022. With the help of the students that are part of the Sparrows Point Education Center and the Environmental Studies class, a popular environmental magnet program offered at Sparrows Point High School, this will support a learning platform for the preservation of the history of the community and the environment. The partnership with Sparrows Point High School is vital to the conservation efforts to improving the Chesapeake Bay. The STEM programs emitting from the project include soil erosion, sediment control, stormwater management, habitat conservation, and it is through continued education that science-based solutions to bay pollution can be developed and sustained. The Historical Society and Daphne Kuhn and Walker has created 100% construction plans that we had submitted to Baltimore County Public Schools for a building and grading permit. The Historical Society has reached out to the surrounding neighborhoods, the tentacles of the former Bethlehem Steel Mill community members, businesses, and organizations to share the plan to solicit interest, engagement, and funding. Sparrows Point High School, being a green school, has embraced the project for its historical, environmental, and safety value. The Historical Society donated a copy of the 100% construction plans to the Construction and Design and management program at Sparrows Point High School, where students learn the principles of construction and learn AutoCAD software. The Beacon of Hope project will offer this group of students an opportunity for hands-on learning through the design and construction process. Our brainchild is already reaping rewards. This is from Mr. Macer, instructor of the CAD class at Sparrows Point High School. We finished framing the multi-purpose shed using the construction plans you guys gave us over to the school, building a three-quarter size model of the Beacon of Hope project. The Historical Society's education motto is hands-on, minds on. Building critical and crucial connections can help students fall in love with their school by nurturing students' sense of school pride and the feeling that they are part of the community they want to belong to. We have partnered with Baltimore County Public Schools to ensure completion. We are days away from a building permit and grading permit. We need to show we have enough funding for the project before the 7330 can be applied. The beauty of the Beacon of Hope project, it touches the communities of 21219, 052, 222, and all of Southeast Baltimore County, Baltimore City as well, and Hartford County in the state of Maryland. We hit on many facets of neighborhood support and school support to create safer, cleaner, greener neighborhoods. The Beacon of Hope will also provide Sparrows Point High School with great instruction and learning. Also, generate school pride and improve the future positive culture with the positive past culture. The Sparrows Point North Point Historical Society has reached out to communities to collect and interpret their history of racial segregation and discrimination and what the Beacon of Hope should represent. And the Beacon of Hope project and the Sparrows Point North Point Historical Society wants everyone to be a beacon of hope and light. And so I'll get right to the point here. We need extra funding due to the economy and inflation. We're asking for a matching amount of $75,000 to help us get the 7330 from the school processed. We have the 100% construction plans complete. We have sent in the Baltimore County Public School and have applied for a building permit. And the environmental impact review has been signed off by Mrs. Regina Esslinger. The Historical Society has paid for all the engineering for the Beacon of Hope project from donations and many donors in the amount of $72,552 in cash. We have on hand a bond $75,000 from the state of Maryland. We have $4,300 in the GoFundMe account, and we have $5,380 in cash in M&T Bank. The bids to complete the phase 2 of the Beacon of Hope is coming in at around $145,000 due to the inflation and the markup of the material. We have $84,680 cash on hand, leaving a deficit of $60,938 that we would need. With the $72,552 plus the $84,680, the Historical Society will be in it for $157,232. We have letters of support from Robin Grammer from the state of Maryland, County Exec Johnny O, Anita Gassol from the Executive Director of the Baltimore Museum of Industry, Emily Castor, Principal of Sparrows Point High School, Hank Rode, President of the Sparrows Point Alumni Association, from the late Don Kellner, President of United Steelworkers Local 9477, founder and president of the Henrietta Lacks Legacy Group, Servant Courtney Speed. We also had Rick Metzger and Senator Salling implement the legislative bond for the Beacon of Hope project. The garden was put in by a grant of $5,000 from the Chesapeake Bay Trust. We received a grant from the Baltimore Community Foundation for $25,000 last year that helped pay for the engineering. We have applied for a grant with M&T Bank, and we have a grant into the Baltimore Community Foundation as well. And I was hoping that the 3 cents from the plastic could offer us a grant as well. So what we're asking for is for Baltimore County to match the $75,000 that's already been put in by the Historical Society and the $75,000 bond that we have applied for and have received from the state of Maryland. So we're asking the county to help us out.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Taylor. I really appreciate your
You're welcome.
Your presentation, and certainly appreciate your efforts and thank you for your service as a teacher here in Baltimore County. And I guess we will be in touch to see how we can help you. Next caller, Mr. Belcastro.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. We had one more speaker this evening, but I've noted she hasn't been on. I think she was on the meeting earlier, but I guess she just wasn't able to stay on, and it was Kimberly Klasick. But she's no longer on the meeting.
Okay, Ms. Klasick, if you're there, going once. Ms. Klasick, if you're there, going twice. Ms. Klasick, if you're there, third and final call. No Kimberly Klasick. So, I think that ought to do it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Spirited discussion, and appreciate everybody's